and we can just roll right into the kinder team.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to get our presentation up. Hi. Can everybody see it okay?
Looks truly amazing.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Well, just getting started. My name is Brenna Lane. This is my second year at Westgate. Last year I was also part of the kindergarten crew, and I got to present too. Yeah, I'll turn it over.
Oh, Jenny, you're muted.
I got it. Yay. Sorry, y'all. Thank you for your patience. I'm Jenny. I'm one of the other kindergarten teachers. This is my 7th year of teaching and then my 3rd year at Westgate.
And my name is Blaine Baker. This is my 3rd year teaching overall. This is my 1st year here at Westgate.
All right, and so we'll dive in here with what does RISE look like in kindergarten, because it looks very different throughout the school, but especially with our kinders. And so if we look at the next slide, it'll kind of break down and give some examples of what that might look like. But just what you heard a lot from SPED about working on executive functioning skills, this is actually one of our incentives to put that foundation in with our kinders and help them with building empathy, building respect, and a huge one is to practice not asking for a RISE ticket and modeling what does it look like to shine others, for example, and maybe even show how, or practice noticing when others are showing kindness, or one of our values, core values at Westgate. And more often, especially at this time of year, we'll start hearing, Miss Lubing, I think that this student earned a RISE ticket because they helped so-and-so. And so that's what we want to get them at by the end of kindergarten so that they're ready to 1st grade with doing some, more complicated critical thinking skills that aligns with our values. And then going into our curriculum, we're going to start with math. And so our math curriculum is Big Ideas. What's wonderful is that Big Ideas is not only in kindergarten, but we're also throughout K through 3rd or 4th grade. And so we're building all of those skills as they first start with us and then move on to 1st grade. It's the very similarly constructed, so that way they're not getting anything different from 1st grade than they did in kindergarten. And then how we set it up is very similar throughout the classes. We start with the warm-up, talk about vocabulary, and then we do an I do, we do, you do. To support their learning, we also use some fun parts of our Big Ideas curriculum, which also includes math musicals. Our kindergartners love it, and if you ever want to have a smile in your day, you can go to like the beginning of our math classes and they know the lyrics to all of the songs by now. So it's a lot of fun. If you want to learn a little bit more about what we do with our Big Ideas math curriculum, you're more than welcome to check out our Edlio. We give for each of our posts, we give an idea of what parents can do at home with their kiddo to just sharpen the skills that we work on. And then we're going to just take a quick visual tour of what centers look like in kinder, because we believe that hands-on learning is the best type of learning when it comes to our kinders. And so this is just, the previous slide was just an example about how we set it up so that way other students, you'll see them in different groups. The colors don't mean necessarily anything. However, it just gives a specific schedule of how often we get to see those students in the classroom and how many rotations we might have with our centers. And so here are some pictures of our examples. I was trying to get candid, and some of my students were getting off. They're surprised. I promise you, they really like centers. But for each centers, we wanted to, especially in kindergarten, create differentiation where not one student is they're working on the same skill. However, we wanted to give a grade level and then a lift for the students to have options to push themselves a little bit more if they would like. And this is what's nice about this option is that they're not told to do a specific choose a specific center. They get the option to tune into which one they want to. So a really good example of that is that the top right corner, I have, we're using our stacking blocks. And so one student is creating, ordering their blocks from 1 to 10. And then another student is creating blocks that create the number 10. And so they have the choice. We're still working on number fluency, but they have that choice to push themselves in the area that they need. And then if you look at the bottom left, oh, I'm sorry, Brenna. Look at the bottom left, there's two different centers going on where one student is working on a true and false equation, whether it is equal to 10 or not, and sorting that out. And then the other two students opted in towards graphing. So just some examples of how we differentiate through centers. And then to move forward to literacy. In literacy, we work with OpenCourt. OpenCourt goes all of the letter sounds, and then we also work on our digraphs, specifically through secret stories. We also use secret stories for our vowel sounds. And then those are the digraphs we are specifically working on, just getting them ready for those first grade skills. If any of our students needed a lift, we also add in a few more digraphs as well. To support our readers, we have 3 different sections that we use for our small groups, and that's Bob Books, Nonsense Words, and Mo Willems. And so what I've noticed and what a few parents have shared with me is that some students just hate the Bob Books. I don't know why they don't take a liking towards them, but as soon as we start reading them in the class, they get frustrated with the story, how the story is going towards. So we added in Mo Willems stories to add in more sight words and just a lift for the students who already have those 72 sight words, and they need to continue on their progress in reading. And if you haven't had any of the Piggy and Elephant books, Piggy and Gerald, they're fantastic, and it's a huge hit in kindergarten. And then we have some examples of what our centers look like in the classroom as well. Here's just a quick, once again, how it's organized. You might have seen the circle that just says where the centers, what colored bin the centers go into. So that has nothing to do with it, just a quick scheme of what the schedule might look like in each of our classes. And then once again, oh my goodness, I have a couple of slides that were, oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I totally thought I was in math for a second. I was like, this is all literacy. What's going on? We are in literacy. In the top right corner, if you see, like, there's one student who is using stamps to work on their sight words, and then another student is using Play-Doh for our sight words. And so it's just, once again, we're differentiating in the centers with 2 different options. And then I just wanted to show you how we use the same skill, but then add it so a student has the autonomy to choose what they're working on. At the bottom right corner, there's 2 students are playing a game that focuses on the ending sound. However, if you see just below that, there's a bag, and they chose not to use this one, but that's working on the beginning sound. So we're still working on the individual sound in the class or in a word, but whether they want to focus on what's coming at the beginning of the word or focus on what's at the end is up to them. And then at the bottom left corner, I have 2 gals who there's only one center, and that would be my small group center. So that's why you don't see another choice there. Yeah. And then we're gonna move on to social studies. Thanks, Brenna.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. So moving on to social studies and then talking about science curriculum, we get the opportunity to create our social studies and science curriculum. It gives us a lot of opportunities for collaboration within our team, as well as researching and using other resources to implement it into our curriculum. Sorry. So we cover over history, geography, economics, civics. What that looks like in kindergarten for history is sequencing past and present, then and now. Geography is on a map. Currently, we're talking about culture and traditions, as well as Black History Month. Economics looks like economy and what an individual can do with money. Civics is thinking about themselves in the community and the characteristics of how I can be a helpful member of the community within the classroom. So going on to science. Sorry, it's not clicking. Oh, sorry, here's some pictures of it. Yeah, so last year we got the opportunity to have a truck driver come in for our community helpers. This year we didn't get a picture of it, unfortunately, but we had 3 RNs that came in, and the students got the opportunity to do like a Q&A with the RNs after they did their presentation. So the picture of like the students holding up pictures of the hands, we talked about New Year's celebrations around the world. So this was for last year was the year of the dragon. This year it was like the year of the rooster. So they got, wait, no, not rooster. Well, oh, snake. Sorry, everybody. My mind was on something else. Okay, anyway, and then the bottom right corner was for them creating a drum for the HBCU drumline for Black History Month. So we're about to do that craft with them this year. We haven't got to yet, but that's going to be actually tomorrow. So we'll pending pictures for next presentation next year. So we also get the opportunity to do really cool events during social studies and science. We got to do Johnny Appleseed Day, so the students got to partake in creating their own applesauce, and then we got to do, they create their own hats, learn about Johnny Appleseed, and then in the bottom picture, we got to do a feast together, a gratitude grub is what we called it this year, so they got to come together with every other kindergarten class and talk about what we're grateful for in our classrooms and in our community and at home too. So for science in kindergarten, this is what it looks like. We talk about physical science, which is like pushes and pulls. We got to last week discuss how sunlight affects the Earth's surface, and the students got to build a shelter to protect ice from the sun. We also talk about life science, the life cycles of animals, food chain, what do animals need to live, survive, and grow. And then earth science, we got to talk about weather and how do we prepare for serious weather, as well as emergency situations within that. So here's some pictures that from the science units. We got to go on nature walks. They get the opportunity to be outside and have like hands-on projects and experiments. We get to talk about like how does a cloud form, and recently we talked about like the life cycle of a worm and what they need to survive and grow. These are some fun pictures of them building their shelters to protect the ice. We didn't really give them ice, but a pretend object. And then we walked around and conducted the experiment with it, so they got to protect their item from the sun. During advocacy, I know Sped talked about A Little Spot of Feelings. Kindergarten has really leaned into this as a resource for feeling identification, as well as the visual learning that comes with it, seeing the spots identified with each emotion, as well as like developing coping strategies and skills to navigate these emotions. These are some hands-on activities that we got to do. Recently, we talked about adapting to change, which is a flexible thinking spot, and not being in your rigid oak tree spot, which is the picture of the trees. And all of these we gotta like give to the students to bring home to use that as a resource too. So and they really enjoyed it. So yeah, going over to Blaine. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thankfully, they left me with all the fun stuff to do. So I'll talk quickly about some field trips that we've done already this year. A few of the field trips we're planning on going on here in the next couple months, and then move into some projects we've done this year and projects we'll do later. To start our field trips, we went to Miller Farms. It's a farm outside of Denver. It was really fun. It was within like the first month of school. At school, we talked about life cycles of plants, what plants need to survive, the important things for all the plants. And then we decided we should go out and see what it looks like. So Miller Farms lets us go out there. They each get to pick a pumpkin to take home. We did around Halloween. And then they also got to pick any other vegetable that was there on the farm too. So they ended up with big sacks of vegetables. It was really hard to convince the kids not to pick up 35 potatoes to try to take home without ripping through the bag. So that was our biggest challenge for the whole time. Then next we went to the Denver Nature Science Museum. It was really fun. They got to break out into small groups with their chaperones that came with us. Each class had about 3 chaperones. So it was really fun. 4 adults got to split the kids into really small groups and basically just said, go explore. Try not to get lost. If you do, try to find the closest teacher, but it was really fun. The adults were great. They got to take the kids on anywhere they wanted to go. It was pretty much student-led field trip. Each group rounded out their trip with a visit with a workshop with the paleontologists on site, as you can see in some of these pictures here. They got to dress up as stegosauruses and figure out how they find their food, how they find their water. There was a couple bonked heads, but thankfully there was a doctor on site and the paleontologist, so we weren't too worried about it. But that was a great field trip as well. Then last week, 2 weeks ago, maybe, we got to go to the Hammond's Candy Factory here in Denver. This was kind of a newer field trip that we decided to do. So it was pretty fun for everybody. It was really short, quick field trip, but it was really fun to see. We got to go inside and see how candy was made, kind of going back to what Brenna was saying with the then and now, past and present type things. We got to see how candy was made 100 years ago and how sometimes they still use those processes to make candy now. It was a ton of fun. They got to stand at the glass and see how lollipops were made and all the different flavors and what happens and how they roll the candy. And we had a great tour guide who helped us out. Then we also got to do a quick scavenger hunt of the candy store. Like I said, if it was hard to keep them from stealing the potatoes from the farm, it was twice as hard keeping them from taking candy off the shelves. So, but that was a great field trip. It was a ton of fun to see how that stuff works. It was cool. They all got a lollipop at the end, so it worked out. Then we'll talk a few about upcoming field trips. So field trips we're planning on going on still this year. Yeah, so next week is our kindness week, as I'm sure most of you parents have seen in emails from the school, from your teachers. Your kids are probably talking about it, but we get to go to the bus barn next week, and we're going to share cards. We're going to make our own cards. And the kindergartners are going to make their own cards and then share them with the bus barn, people work at the bus barn. We get to see the inside. We get to ride on a bus. We've obviously done that a few times already, but we get to go through the car wash. We get to kind of see the inner workings of buses and what the bus barn looks like. Our high school students actually come down and chaperone with us, which is really fun to see too. It's going to be exciting to see how the younger kids think they're just about the coolest thing in the world, but we'll see if the high school kids think the same about them after spending 2 hours with them. Then we're going to go, Mrs. Khan is going to come with us and go to the butterfly pavilion. We get to kind of go around the butterfly pavilion just as you would. We get to observe a lot of things. We talk about pollinators a lot throughout the year with our service learning projects, as you'll see when we come up. And we kind of get to take a live look at pollinators and things that fly around and that most kids are afraid of. So it'll be great. We get to see metamorphosis, all those things, hold beetles, and see Rosie the tarantula. So it'll be a pretty exciting field trip. Then one we're all kind of excited about is visiting the zoo. It's a really fun experience to be able to take a bunch of kids to the zoo, especially friends who have not done it before. We're really excited to go visit the zoo, see some workshops, do whatever's there for us to do in May. It's kind of far out to see now, but whatever we're able to do there, we want to do. It's going to look a lot like the Natural History Museum, where we take adults and then send them out on their own and kind of see how it goes. So we're really excited to do that as well. Then, if you can tell, kindergartners loves our field trips. We like to take the kids out as much as possible, try to teach them what it's like in a big group out somewhere. So then we're going to take them to the Arvada Center for the Performing Arts. We're going to be watching a production of Lyle the Crocodile. It's a great, fun story about a crocodile who can sing. So it's going to be interesting to see how they put it on live. Hopefully no crocodiles at the place, but I guess we'll find out when we get there. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the kids do. You know, I try to stand up and do my best performance every day for 8 hours. So it'll be nice to see somebody else do it for once. And so I think it'll be exciting to see how they do. Good. And then we're moving on to upcoming projects. I have to get into the serious stuff, unfortunately. So we're moving in. This is stuff we're going to do probably closer to the end of the year and start working on now. At the end of the year, they're going to do a research project on an animal, which is pretty exciting. Sounds pretty crazy. When I first saw it, I was like, no way. They're going to be able to do this, but they're going to be creating books, diagrams, posters of an animal that lives in the rainforest. We're going to be doing a lot of writing, a lot of reading, different math things and science standards. As Jenny was talking about, for those grade level things, that's what we want to see, is those reading, writing, math skills, science skills all put into one. And then if they need a lift, if they do fast, we allow them to do clay models of their animals and paint their animals and things like that. So really just a fun project to kind of culminate everything we've learned. We don't, we're not expecting them to write a 15-page works cited paper and all those things. Just a few sentences here and there about one of the animals they picked from the rainforest. But it's going to be really exciting to see how well these kids do. Right now, it's a little daunting to think about them doing it, but thankfully we have a little bit of time to get ready for it. We will also be doing a readers theater for our parents in the audience. They get an early access. Our kindergartners are going to recreate a story and act it out in front of a parent audience. Last year, each class brought stories to life like a very hungry caterpillar, Brown Bear, and Miss Wishy Washy. So all the students, as you can kind of see in this picture over here, get to put together some crafts. They make them themselves. They make all of the props themselves and do things like that. So it's going to be fun to see. They get to act it out and hopefully do their jobs, right? But they get to act it out in front of their parents and everyone that cares about them. So it's a really fun, it'll be fun to see them perform. Good. I kind of talked about our service learning project. Mrs. Khan obviously comes into our rooms all the times and helps us with projects that we can do for our school, projects that we can do to help animals around our community. Our end of the year project, they're going to be providing an environment where butterflies can thrive. They'll be planting flowers and creating butterfly homes where butterflies can eat and pollinate. So really important. We also get to take a look at hatching butterflies in our classroom. So it's really exciting, really fun. Kids get to watch the butterflies grow from the tiny little worms crawling around to flying butterflies we get to release and hopefully use their habitats. So that's coming at the end of the year too. It's a really exciting, fun project. Okay, I think that ends it here. Does anybody have any questions for us?